Good morning, my conscious co-creators, and how are you this beautiful Friday morning in New York City? Still got a little bit of nip in the air, but it's a beautiful day nonetheless. I'm really excited to let you guys know that I have a very fascinating guest. I actually got a chance to see what he does last night, and it was quite an interesting experience. I think there was probably about 50 people there last night, and in the place where he had the event, it was I guess you'd call it a healing event. It was a standing room only, even though everyone was lying down. So I know some of you guys are used to having Sensei John come on in the beginning of the show with me and talk about his philosophy of the week, but with the holidays and stuff, he's not able to make it today, but he will be returning next week. So for all of those Sensei John fans out there for the philosophy of the week, not to worry, he will be returning next week. But for today, we are going to be talking about healing, about experiences that go beyond our ability to rationally explain them, with my very special guest, Damien Wynne, who is here all the way from Ireland. Well, I thought from Ireland, but he just recently told me he's actually living in a suitcase between Budapest and Germany these days. Is that right, Damien?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
Good morning, Sam. Hi.
Hi. So where in, you're originally from Ireland, though I can
I'm
tell
from
from the
Ireland,
accent.
yes.
From where in Ireland are you
From
originally?
Dublin.
From Dublin.
Yeah. Portmarnock, actually.
And you know, as usual, I always like to give the audience a little bit of background on the people who come through. So, although you've been doing what you've been doing now for about 10, 11, 12 years or so, before that you were doing something completely different, yes?
Yes, I was involved in the business world.
What kind of business?
Well, I had a refrigeration company and a convenience store, actually, and
really?
some property as well. Yeah.
All in like the Dublin area?
All in the Dublin area.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you have any kind of I don't want to say religious background, but did you have any kind of a spiritual background?
Well, from when I was a child, I always knew that God was inside me, and I always knew we had a direct connection with God. So I would connect with religions on the source of the religion, but not the politics of the religion. So every religion I could connect with the source.
Okay. And but then your life took a very dramatic turn.
Yes. So when I was, it's 11 years now, I think it is.
Wow.
I got a message to meet somebody, and when that person turned out to be a healer, and when he worked on me, he opened up my heart chakra, and it was like an explosion. It was like, really, really strong. And after that, he had told me I could do healing, which I didn't really believe him, and he sort of pushed me into working on him. And from that point, as soon as I accepted, okay, I will work in you, immediately like a laser opened from my third eye. And I start getting symbols, and different techniques really start coming in immediately on how to work with them. So I start working with these and became very excited about it. And it just progressed from there. Then I start channeling essences. We ended up swapping on each other, and then with some friends. And I became very excited about the whole thing. And then
What kind of healing did he do on you? Do you know? Was it Reiki, or was it just something?
No, it was just something. His dad was a healer, and he'd only started actually just before we met. Yeah. So it was nice. We practiced on each other, so it was really fun.
And so when you say your heart chakra opened up, I mean, at that time, did you know what the chakras were?
I didn't know anything about it. I never read anything about healing. I had no interest in healing. I didn't know anything about it.
So really, you were going into this like really blind, and then you had
absolutely.
a very strong experience from it.
Yeah, sure. And all the way through, actually, I've been blocked as well about learning or reading about it as well. The guides would normally make sure I learned it myself first, and then I'd see it in a book or something, or someone would tell me about it.
Interesting. So would you say then, for the most part, you're pretty much self-taught? I mean,
all the way through, yeah, absolutely,
wow.
yeah. I did a weekend metamorphosis. That was 2 days actually, technique, and then I did some vortex healing. Just
vortex.
For 4 days. With Anthony Gormley, and that's about it. Yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
So at the time, like when this first started happening, I mean, like you said, you were a business guy. You had refrigeration. You had a store. You had some property. And it did it like immediately start creeping into your whole life, or was it just like, okay, this is one little experience, I'm going to put this on the side right now and get back to my normal life, and then it like...
I tried to have a normal life, but that didn't really happen. I became connected with another lady, Janine Thorpe, and she was making essences, and I started working with her essences for a few weeks, and then suddenly I got a message I should meet up. So we met up, and then I started channeling my own essences and started working with these, and these really progressed me very, very fast,
Were
very
these
dramatically.
flower essences?
No,
or
no, no, they were
essences?
channeled.
Channeled
Yeah,
essences.
they were connected with the stars, so I started channeling them. They were working, they'd build up in the energy would build up in my spine, and then I would get a message how many essences I'm going to make or when I'm going to make them. So I started channeling these and working with these, and this really helped me move fast.
Really? I see.
Yes,
So what was like, I guess, the most dramatic thing that, you know, in your, you know, like, how did this sort of healing and sort of channeling work intrude on your daily life? I mean, would you be like in the middle of working in your store and then you'd start getting some message or something?
Well, it was interesting, yes. It sort of like began to creep completely into my life. You know, I remember even I would think about something and then they'd ring and say, wow, that was amazing healing, thank you. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't do anything, I just thought about you. So it started really to creep in fast, yes, yeah. I was really being pushed. When I basically was channeling the essence, I channeled 27 essence actually, and I'd gone to Janine's house, and it turned out that they were connected with the entities in Brazil. And I didn't know about Brazil at this stage. This is John of God in Brazil.
Oh, yes, John of God, sure.
The essence is basically with the names of the entities who work with him. So somebody in the house recognized the names, and she says, that's the entities who work with John of God. So I immediately received a message saying that I should give up the business and go to Brazil for the next step. So I did that, yes.
So at the time you got this message, did you think like, you know, am I going crazy? Am I completely bonkers? Or did you just... No,
No. I knew inside. It was really interesting. Everything felt... Each technique that came down was very familiar. It's almost like I knew it already. Everything was so familiar. When I got the messages, I just knew inside, no, this is what I have to do. It was very, I was very sure about it. Yeah, there was no doubt whatsoever.
Wow, that's great. That's great. And when you get kind of messages, you know, I know different people say like they receive information different ways. Some people they're clairaudient, they hear it, or they sense it, or they know it. How does things come to you?
For me, it's an inner knowing. It's not another voice. It seems to be almost like it's my mind nearly, but it's just something inside that's very, very deep, and it feels very grounding at the same time. So it's almost like my gut and my heart is telling me this is it. Okay, this is what I have to do, and it feels good. So it feels really right. So any of the messages I would get, it would always have to feel right, and it really empowers you basically if you listen to that feeling inside you.
Right. Wow. So you didn't really have any models or any sort of mentors about what to do with this. You really had to kind of figure things out for you?
Yeah, I tried to. Actually, I was very excited. I went to a particular healer in Dublin, and he was told not to work with me and not to teach me.
Really?
Yeah. So anyone I went in contact who I tried, I was really excited, and but no, I was pushed away. Actually,
that's funny. So they were like from all directions. It was like, no, you got to do this on this. You got to do this on
I was really hurt by that actually, because I was like, okay, in the business world you do this, but you know, come on, in this type of, you know, the healing world, we should be all together and work together and help each other. But it wasn't. It was just the guides telling me I'm not to.
Did you ever find out why you were not to? Was it to keep...
Yes, it was to keep everything pure, keep everything clean. And not that his work wasn't clean, it was excellent. But it was just, I was to find things myself. It was more powerful that way. And then they sent me over to Budapest, actually, and that was really fantastic because it helped me develop a technique, because I didn't have the language and I tried to learn, and then they suddenly just blocked me from the language. So people were coming to me and I was working with them and I was getting guidance on how to work with them. So they were basically giving me points on the body on where to work with people, and this developed to about 110, 120 points. But there was no communication, so people would come as completely unsubconscious. People would come and they would have results, they would leave, and to my surprise at the time, they would come back. So I really had to listen to it. So it was good. It was very good.
So I want to talk a little bit about kind of the experience people have and how you work with people. So if somebody comes to you, I mean, typically, what happened or what happens? Is it like someone has a physical ailment, they have a block in their life, and they come to you, and what are they looking for, and what do they get?
Okay. For me, basically, the ailment was never the priority. It was always to find the root. It was always the spirit giving an ailment to push them to work on themselves and to find who they really are. So for me, what's very important is that you heal yourself, you take your power back, and you don't give your power away to me or anyone else, basically. That you really find your heart and the source of who you are. So normally what it's doing is it's stripping off the veils and the programs and revealing the spirit to who they really are, so they can work on themselves and really stay connected and activate their self-healing, which we all have inside.
So really, what your I guess what you do is really about helping to empower people for their own and to connect to their own power, not that they're coming to you for you to fix them.
Yes, yeah. I've been told the way the technique's developed now. I've been told that it's like a jump start. So it changes the frequencies completely in the body. So it's people describe it as being put in a 90-degree wash. It really, you come out clean, and they look fresh and they look really alive. So it's bringing the spirit down fully into the body as much as the personality allows it, of course.
Right. So what kind of transformations, just if you could give maybe an example or two, have you seen, something maybe dramatic of somebody coming to you and then seeing what kind of happened in their life afterwards?
I've seen so many. It happens every day. I hear stories every day. People are telling me different things. Generally, it's really, excuse me, it's really that, for example, with chemo or cancers or anything, it seems to allow people to activate their healing powers and really stay strong and true. And it's like the toxins don't cause the issues that they normally would. So I help people pass. People usually physically feel better, or things heal better, or operations become easier. So there's many different successes. I won't go into the list of them, but I don't really like to go into that part because it's really up to you to heal yourself, and there's been many successes, but I prefer not to focus on that. I don't think that's important.
But I guess what I was trying to bring out is really more of when somebody comes to see you, what kind of happens afterwards is really more of a transformation in their life, as opposed to just, my back was bothering me and now my back doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah. Usually people will really find who they really are. So the ailment will be healed, but they usually really find what's really going on, why it was happening. If their back was it they're in the wrong relationship? Was it a career? Was there some mistake made on the way? So they will find that mistake and usually make the changes. So normally the patterns, what happens is all the thought patterns or programs which are not true to the spirit basically start falling away, and you have the power to find your way, and it makes you feel very centered, very balanced, and very secure about your decisions, and you see everything very, very sharp, very clear, and really helps you on your true path.
So if someone's listening to this and they're saying, okay, what can I do? Let's say, they're listening to you and there's some other country and, you're not around. What can people do sort of individually to help them to connect to their own sort of inner knowing? Do you have any
Well, this work is really connected to source, and it's coming down through your crown, through your pineal gland, and down through your spine into the center of the heart. And then also it's connected to Mother Earth, and it's connected to the crystalline center of the earth. So from your tailbone, basically, there's a connection going down to Mother Earth, and you send that up through your spine into the center of your heart as well. And if you work with these two energies and always work through your heart and listen to your heart, this will really help and make a huge difference.
So do you recommend people meditate?
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. Meditate or walk or sing, whatever they feel, what makes their spirit feel good. You have to feel
good. Okay. So you've been doing this now about 11 years or so. What would you say over the past 11 years has been the biggest surprise for you?
Wow. it was interesting when I was in the business world. I used to plan. It was when I was growing up. I used to have different plans. So I'd say I'd have a year plan, a 5-year plan, and a 10-year plan. Now I don't have any plans, and I live my life in the moment, which is beautiful. It basically, I'm completely open. It allows me to be completely open to sense every situation, move with every situation with complete accuracy, and always being correct once I listen to myself. But really living my life to the fullest, and it's amazing what the universe will line up for you. And when you live your life like that, everything works out really, really well. You don't seem to make mistakes, and it's just so rich. So it's not to be narrow-minded or focused on one thing, but just be very open, and you'll be very surprised how you'll be helped and guided through your life.
Just kind of like just say yes to what the universe brings you. And
well, check in your heart all the time.
Okay, use your own discernment.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one thing I tend to find sometimes people lack is discernment. You know, they tend to take it for granted, and I guess it's another way of people not staying in their personal powers, not using their own discernment about what's good or what's not good for them.
Sure.
And they trust somebody else's opinion, and then it doesn't serve them truly in the long run.
I never ever put anyone up on a pedestal, and I don't think it's good to do that. I always check everything, including myself, all the time in the center of my heart and my gut, and I have to check everything. And what fits right with my gut and my heart, that's what I keep, and the rest I just let pass. It's not for me. So I think everybody should do this and really go with your gut and your heart. Really listen.
That's really
to
the
yourself.
example you want people to follow, is to check into their own gut.
Absolutely, yes.
I see.
It's very important.
And as you've developed this, I take it like it didn't all just come down at once, fully formed. It was a process.
No, it's a process of me working on myself and clearing myself. And the vibration kept changing, and I kept taking different jumps and leaps and working with different beings. Excuse me, I'm working on myself all the time. So the vibration kept changing, and it's continuously evolving with the world. So the technique kept developing as the universe is changing. So the technique was continuously evolving on a daily basis. Every time I work with somebody, it's like an exchange happening all the time, and it's really beautiful. Yeah.
So when you say you worked on yourself, is it a question of just connecting to the energies and running it through, or how would you work on yourself?
Well, when I work with somebody, I'm working on myself at the same time, and they're working on me.
Right, yeah. Give a healing, get a healing.
Exactly, yeah. That's the beauty of the work. It's really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do a form of healing myself, and I just find that I always feel better after I've worked on somebody than I did before I worked on them.
Absolutely, yeah.
Have you ever come across somebody who was just really, really blocked, that you were able to help them to get through those blocks and connect to Source?
Sure, yeah, absolutely, yeah, many.
Typically, what really causes people to block themselves off from Source?
Fear.
Yeah.
It's very important to clear fear. That's the most important thing to clear in yourself, is fear.
And what would you say are the most common fears that people have?
Oh, anything. Normally with fear, when I'm working with fear myself, I go through it pretty fast, because what I do is I embrace it and I walk through it. I don't push it away, I embrace it.
Okay.
And if you embrace it, it's you're learning from it and you're growing from it. So usually if something happens to me, or if I get an attack or anything, I will embrace that feeling and see it as a positive. So it's showing up a weak point that's in me, and it's only affecting me because there's a weak point in me. So what I'll do is I'll start embracing that energy and bring it through me and walk through it. And in that way, I'm clearing that weak point in me, or a gap in my system. And it won't happen again there, or it'll happen on a different level, but I've sort of gone through it, so it's okay. So I love when this happens to me.
So it's kind of going against what we typically do in this society, which is suppress the feelings, especially the uncomfortable ones. It's really more about embracing the feelings.
Absolutely.
All of them.
What
we would call the good or bad, or what I would call the high vibration and the low vibration.
Sure. I wouldn't have fear about, I try not to have fear about anything, and if there's a fear there, I will embrace it. I don't push it away. I want to go through it. I want to experience it, and I really want to feel basically, and move on from it. But important to let it go, of course, as well.
Yes,
Step through and let it go, and don't cling on to it.
Yeah. Well, great. We have to take another little break at the moment. We're here talking with Damien Wynne, and we'll be back right after these messages.
You're listening to the Conscious Consultant Hour. We'll be right back after these messages.
The Police, the band from across the pond. You're listening to the Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity. I'm your host, Sam Liebowitz, and we're here talking with Damien Wynne. And now we have another guest in the audience. Ileana, are you here in New York City, or are you traveling?
I live in New York.
You live in New York. So you decided to join us. Thank you for coming on the show.
Welcome.
And I wanted to talk a little bit about, Damien, kind of the work you've been doing while you've been here in New York. Did you come here to New York with a specific purpose?
Well, I've been getting a message to come here nearly for 2 years, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been sort of, it took me a while to get here, but I'm here. I knew something was going to happen when I got here, yes. Yeah, I usually get messages beforehand about the work.
And so what kind of something happened?
Well, just recently before Christmas, an activation technique came down in Berlin, and what it was it was for bringing the spirit fully into the body and integrating it into the body and becoming a living channel. So this came down, but I felt in New York there was something about the consciousness and bringing down, it's interestingly the double diamond, but that's exactly what came down in the technique, was a double diamond. It was like screwing it, a connection with Mother Earth and screwing it into the earth and also to source. But that's exactly what we've been working with, and the diamonds over each of the chakras as well. But Ileana can tell you more about that, actually, because she's experienced the work over the last week.
And please, Ileana, so what's been your, is this your first time meeting Damien, this trip to New York?
Yes, first time.
First time. And how did you hear about him?
Oh, he was brought by a friend of mine.
Ah, okay. And so what's been your experience as somebody sort of attending his events and his meditations?
Well, the first exposure was when he was working on someone on a table, and Damien moves the field with his hands and his body, and when I felt it, and it had like repercussions throughout my body. Okay. So I started feeling what he really was up to with my friend Alan on the table, and after that experience, the whole night I felt the same thing going through my own field, like readjusting, reassessing, and activating certain lines and certain grids within. And then before we did the workshop this last weekend, I really saw clearly the two triangles coming together into New York, into the core of the granite that New York is built on. What Damien really is up to is like he helps the spirit, like in a Celtic way, to bring the spirit into the body.
I see. Yeah, I found that quite interesting, Damien, in the way you talk about what you do, that it's a way of really anchoring the spirit, I guess, in a stronger way into the physical body. You know, I always try and remind people that we're energy having a physical experience, not physical bodies that happen to have a spiritual experience. So what, I guess, how do you get the spirit to anchor more deeply into the physical body?
Well, I have to work basically on clearing any programs that you have or any fears or belief systems, and work on both family lines, ancestral lines. So start clearing them and also work on all your past lives. And when they're clear enough, then you can ground the spirit into the body. But also you have to change the frequencies of the brain and the way the brain's working, actually.
Oh, really? So in terms of its patterns, in terms of sort of the emotional patterns we have, or do you mean physically, literally changing the neural pathways?
Yeah. The frequency is the way it's working. It's working almost like in a spiraling basically at the moment in people, and it's causing heaviness and depression. So what I have to do is I have to clear this and then reactivate it from the pineal gland out in complete rays, basically. And it's connecting to source, and it's connecting almost like to the library of the universe. And by doing that, you're also activating your tail and connecting to Mother Earth, and that's how you're becoming a channel. So you've access to all the information that you need in that moment, but you don't hold it. You won't probably even remember it. It's just it's there for you when you need it, and it leaves.
Right. So just to let our audience know, for those members who don't understand about the pineal gland, why do you say activate, through the pineal gland?
It seems very important. I've been pushed continuously to work on it and to charge it up and really create, it seems to be connecting with the universe.
It's like a passages of lights and codes that you, and you're not only working up there on the top of the head and on the bottom of the feet. Of course, you work through the pineals, but you activate the top and the bottom very strongly. And when you think he's done with it, he goes to the next level up and the next level down. And he keeps on going higher and lower. And then the effect of it is that there is a strengthening in this cord, in the spinal cord and along the nervous system, and it becomes like a beam or column. And energetic, it's electrical, but it's not just electrical.
Right. It's interesting because the type of work I do is we work along what we call the midline, or along the spinal column out at the back, because the spine is really the sort of electrical superhighway of the body, and that's how messages are sent
exactly
from the central nervous system. Yeah.
The work has always been to concentrate on clearing the spine from day one. It was always very important to clear the spine. So it was like clearing from the tail all the way up. And it's always basically connected with the spine, and changing the DNA as well, working on the DNA, working on all the frequencies within the cells and the body, and opening up the cells to release all those patterns and programs, and cleaning all the organs and the bones.
Yeah, it's very important. I know a lot of energy workers who talk about working on a sort of a cellular level or a DNA level. They talk a lot about reactivating the 12 strands of DNA. I don't know if you follow.
It's more than that.
It's more than that.
Yes.
Oh, how many strands are there?
I don't know. There's a lot.
There's a lot.
But they're expanding all the time.
Well, I've always gotten the sense that though 12 seems to be a common number of division, that it's each of the 12 strands probably are a braid of 12 strands themselves to make it 144, I guess. So, Alana, what's been the changes that you've noticed in the last 10 days since you've started going to Damien's events?
It feels that the current that I naturally have or feel flow through has amped up.
Okay.
And there is more of an anchoring feeling. More of a whiteness, and very calm.
Okay.
And peaceful.
Let me ask you a question. Are you a healer yourself? Were you a healer before Damien came? So you already were used to working with energy and kind of running energy through people. So has the quality of that shifted for you?
I haven't really been working on individual except a couple this last few days. So I can't tell you, but I can feel that I'm running energy anyway. It doesn't have to be through a body except mine, you know. So, yes, I would say.
Okay, great.
Usually, what happens is there's so it's clearing your energy field, and it's clearing any hooks that you have and other people they have in you, and it's cleaning up all relationships. And there's a feeling usually after working with them that there's a feeling of emptiness or being alone, but it's actually being okay being alone. There's a stillness there which feels very, very comfortable and very nice, and an embracing of the shadow side as well. And then you reset up your relationships basically the way you want. It's really like cleaning out the whole house and getting the foundation right. So when the foundation's right, then you build up. and just much more light there and confidence to make the changes. And in working on the soles of the feet as well is opening up the chakras in the feet and connecting you to Mother Earth so you can feel her vibration, and working around the eyes as well so you can see Mother Earth, make the connection in a much clearer way, and also see life in a very clear way.
Right. So it's almost like, being more comfortable in your own skin in the process.
It's been very active, being very alert, being very grounded, and being very sharp and very true to yourself on all levels.
Okay. All right. It's time for us to take another break. I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Again, if you want to call in, our call-in number is 877-480-4120. We'll be back with Damien Wynne and Ilana in just a moment. So, Damien, I've been neglectful in my duties. I haven't asked you to give out your contact information. So if people listening want to get in touch with you or learn more about you, how would they do that?
Through the website, actually. So it's light-grids, GRIDS.com.
Okay, light-grids.com. Okay, great. And there's contact information.
There's contact about all the information about the different events and countries.
And I want to talk about the event last night, but before I do that, where are you going? You're leaving New York this evening.
I'm going back to Berlin. And doing some work there, and then I'm going to go to Budapest to do another workshop there, and then I'm going to Dublin, and then Berlin again.
Okay. So just for all of our international listeners, if you're out there in Berlin, make sure you check out his website and try and make it to one of his events. So last night I found was kind of interesting. We had a room full of about 50 people, I would guess.
60, actually.
60? Yeah. It was a lot. And the work you did, one woman, Jody Sirota, who I have known for years, who runs the Meta Center, she kind of volunteered to be the person on the table for you.
Well, she was more than just the person on the table. She was holding a vibration of New York, and it wasn't really about just the people there last night. It was about New York, the consciousness and the people of New York, and she held that vibration, which was fantastic to work with her. So together we were channeling and clearing and activating channels in New York and raising the vibration of New York.
So literally, it's you using kind of Jody as a surrogate, in a sense, embodying sort of the physical manifestation of New York City and
the people
and working on all of that. And why were you doing that?
Well, that's how I work all the time. So every city I go to, I receive information, and the information was that I have to keep traveling, and it's activating grids of pure light, and as many of them. And when I work with each person, they have that grid inside them and that channel inside them, and they will spread it to everyone they're in contact with. Or when I work on one person, it's working on all their family and anyone they're in contact with. So it's just spreading pure light and love into people.
And so, Ileana. So we were talking before, during the break, about what somebody sort of feels or experiences when they kind of participate in one of these events. What was it like for you?
When you receive the energies, and it feels like it's filling your own grids, it's patching the grid, like the places that have felt compressed or that love was not really present, it fills it up. It's patching your own field, and then there is a satisfaction that comes from that. That's also why the relaxation happens, because there's nowhere to go. You're there.
Right. Damien, tell me, has anyone ever come to your workshops or your events and said they didn't feel anything?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And some people I've worked on said they don't feel anything. But it's not only there, it's working on a different level. I'm not really concerned about what people feel or don't feel. That's not my concern.
Right.
I'm only there to do the work, to be a channel. And the work works anyway, if they feel or they don't feel. It always goes to the root of the issues and starts clearing people on a really deep level, and stays with them and can stay with them for years. As long as it's up to the personality, you can try and block it with the personality, but it always works. It's never not worked.
So when you work with someone who who, let's say, says they haven't felt anything, but afterwards there were still changes that happened in their lives?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I can see the changes anyway, so they tell me they don't feel anything, but I can see exactly what's after happening or the work's being done. It's really deep and it's on so many different levels. It's actually very difficult to put into words what actually happens. There's so much going on.
Right. Now, before you mentioned about the diamonds, and for those new listeners who are not aware, we broadcast out of the Double Diamond Wellness Center, which is our wellness studio here on 72nd Street on the Upper West Side, and our symbol, our logo, are a pair of diamonds. And you were saying that you kind of got, I guess, energetically, a pair of diamonds coming to New York City?
Yes, it was almost like anchoring one into Mother Earth, and this is true everybody actually. It was very interesting. One of the ladies there last night, she said she went to one of the food halls and she saw this over little channels over everybody that she saw actually. It's actually.
And it's very colorful as well. It shines. It's the effect of light. Prisms of lights coming through.
So it acts like a prism. So white light comes in and it comes out the whole rainbow of color.
Exactly.
And this helps to sort of anchor and to sort of infuse this area with what you would call maybe a higher vibration.
It's a higher vibration of love, and it's unconditional love. So it's people working from the heart. So last night and every other group, basically, it's a connection from the heart. So it's a connection with Source and Mother Earth, basically, and Christ consciousness as well. So it's working with this high vibration energy and pure light, and this frequency just spreads through the city.
Wow.
And everyone there.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Last year at a spiritual festival that I helped my teacher Pierre at called WESOC, which is coming up again soon, we helped in the sort of midwifing the birthing of a chakra at Niagara Falls.
Beautiful.
And still trying to this day, keeping to anchor these energies. Because we're sort of within that grid. I mean, that's the closest of the earth chakras. And a number of people who work with us, feel different things at different times about how those energies sort of anchor down. And I believe they're called the telluric fields of energies that are the magnetic fields that run through the earth. We've been going kind of long. It's just such an interesting conversation. It's time for us to take another break. But when we come back is our last segment. But I'd like to talk about what you see coming, in the next couple of years, 2 to 5 years, and your advice for people. Talking with Damien Wynne and his friend, Ilana. So, Damien, there's a lot of things going on today in the world. There's a lot of changes happening. What do you see happening over the next couple of years, and what's your message to people in general about what they should be doing?
I've been receiving a lot of messages, and we really have to connect with our hearts and stop fearing things and stop connecting with the news and the media and that, and just really stay true to our hearts and have fun and really enjoy ourselves and work with lots of light. I think healers or groups of us, we have to work and raise the vibration and clear this fear that's around, that's been programmed into people at the moment, and really work with this and work from the heart. And the more we work together as a team or a group or do group healings or whatever it may be, or it just really connect from the center of the heart, and that's really going to change the frequencies of the world, and it's going to change the vibration of Mother Earth, so it doesn't have to be so traumatic, these changes and shifts. That's what I believe. Yeah.
And so so when this, and I agree with you 100%. I mean, I got rid of my TV a couple of years ago. I don't watch the news anymore. So what can help people to sort of stay centered and stay grounded and not buy into this fear that's all around?
Sorry, just to go back about the news as well. It's not to be ignorant about what's happening in the world.
Absolutely.
Like I would filter my news, so I would get it from an app, or I would check it from the internet or something.
Right, which
but
I
will filter it that way, and I have control over it rather than leaving a TV in the background on that's continuously pumping out negative vibes to me all the time. So yeah, how to clear.
Well, how do people stay centered? How do they?
Well, normally I would say listen to yourself, listen to your heart, and stay connected. Normally when I'm working with somebody after, I'd say to them, listen, will you check yourself continuously, like 50 times a day if you want? Just ask yourself, it's like going to the gym. Ask yourself, are you centered? And your spirit will know, no, I'm not. And your spirit will do. You say, okay, am I centered again? Then yes, you'll get a yes. But if you leave it too long and don't practice that, or don't meditate or something, you will basically be pushed out a little bit more, and you'll need to do a little bit more work on yourself, or maybe get somebody to work on you.
Right.
So if you do it quite regularly and just really stay true to yourself and listen to yourself, really cut out the static around you as much as possible, and really go deep into your heart. Always go inside. All the answers are inside you. Everything you need is inside you. You don't have to look outside at all. It's all inside us. We all have this light. We all have the clarity. We're not listening. That's when things go wrong, and that's why we get sick. We don't listen to these messages. It's timing's crucial with these messages. If you receive a message, you should act immediately on that, and don't wait around for the next day or till later that evening. They're giving you messages which are connected to frequencies and things that are happening in your life. So if you're getting a message saying you should talk to that person beside you, you should go ahead and do it.
Right.
If you don't do it, you're going to miss that opportunity. So your spirit is lining up opportunities for you to go through your life in a very clear, smooth way. And if you listen and if you're basically following through, it's very easy for them to work with you. If you stop listening, it's very difficult for the work, so you'll get a kick or you'll get a message, and that's what happens to me.
So it's basically like practice listening to your intuition and practice listening to that little inner voice that kind of says, cross over to this other side of the street, or talk to that person, or, you haven't talked to this person in a long time, give them a call.
Exactly.
So practice doing that so you get used to it.
Yes. And don't be so busy. I've done it myself. Like, don't allow the chaos around you come in top you, so you don't listen to that, or you don't have time to listen to it, or you say, well, I would do it, but I'm too busy, I have to run here. If you're getting a message, it's a very clear message that you should act on it there and then, and that's very important to do.
Okay, great. Well, it's been fabulous having you on the show for this past hour, Damien. Thank you very much for coming to the studio. One more time, if you want to give out your website for people.
It's light-grids.com. All the information is on the website, light-grids.com.
And where and when is your next workshop?
Well, I'm doing, most of them are all this, the one in Berlin is full at the moment, but
okay.
I'm holding other ones. I'm going to have one in New York in June. I'm going to do a large group and probably a weekend workshop, and then a 4-day of the technique that I work with. So I can raise everybody up who feels true, their spirit says yes, they can do it. You don't need any experience in this, and you can basically learn the technique or raise to the frequency that I'm at.
Well, great. When you come back to New York, you'll let me know, and I'll announce your workshops on the air.
Yeah, great.
And I want to thank our audience for listening. I also want to let people know just about our spoon bending workshop. Yes, it's time again for our monthly spoon bending workshop that we do here at Double Diamond Wellness, and it's this Saturday, April 23rd at 2:30 p.m. So that we still have a couple of seats left. If you go to the homepage of talkingalternative.com, there'll be a link right there for you to go to the website, the meetup group that we use to register.
And thank you, Ilian.
And thank you, Ileana, for coming on the show as well, our unexpected